This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Warrenville City Council regular meeting for Monday, July 18th, 2022. Have a roll call, please.
Mayor Brummel,
Here.
Alderman Ashour,
Here.
Alderman Berry,
Here.
Alderman Davalos,
Here.
Alderman Goodman,
Here.
Alderman Krischel,
Here.
Alderman Kruckenberg,
Here.
Alderman Lockett,
Here.
and Alderman Widener.
Here.
Thank you, Julie. A reminder that this meeting is conducted in the traditional in-person format with the ability of the public to connect virtually using the GoToMeeting access information that's found on our website. So there's that opportunity if you wish to use it. Okay, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And this is the time we traditionally set aside for citizens' comments. We have one person who signed up this evening, Mr. Bob Siebert. Bob?
Bob Siebert, Albright Court. I'd like to publicly tonight thank the police chief for his service and state that due to his service, Warrenville has become a better place. The concern that I have now is what message are you sending to the other police officers? What are you sending to the newest recruit? Are you telling the recruit, if you stay with Warrenville, if you advance, if you do well, you protect the people, then you could be police chief? We have to have their backs. All of the police officers chose to work for Warrenville. They chose our community. And I think we owe them a special position where we should be looking within the department for our next police chief. And I can assure you that the chief has trained the individuals, and there are individuals that could take this job. When you spend $35,000 and state that you will bring people in, pay their fare to interview, it sends a different message to the people who are supporting us, who are putting their lives on the mark for us. They're doing us a great favor. Years ago, we didn't have the type of police force that we have today. For you, those of you that were around back in 1967, one police chief, part-time, he also was police chief in another community. Then we had individuals that worked on public works that were part-time police officers. We have come a long way, and it's come a long way because of the people like the chief. All I can say is, I think it would be a disaster not to promote an individual from the current police force.
Thank you, Bob. I don't see anyone signed up or on the phone, so we'll move on to official and staff comments, beginning with the mayor. One, please take a moment when you're driving through the community to appreciate the efforts of Warrenville in Bloom, the baskets and all of the efforts that they've made to make our businesses look better. The town just looks beautiful. So thank you, Warrenville in Bloom, again, for your efforts to make Warrenville a better place. Secondly, we have a couple of community events coming up very shortly that are very popular. National Night Out, August 2nd at Cerny Park. National Award-winning National Night Out for Warrenville. I believe we've gotten 3 awards, have we not, Chief Toronto? For the size of our community of being among the best in the nation. And it also has the benefits of being virtually free. So come on down. It's not a high impact thing to your wallet. Good family event at Cerny Park. And then a couple days later on the 6th, we have Summer Days by the Park District, again supported by the city, a nice hometown event. Again, inexpensive for families right here. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can stay in town, have a good time for a couple of days. A lot of good things going on. Information on Summer Days can be found on the Park District website. And then finally, I want to introduce our Community and Economic Development Director, Ron Menser, because he has some good news from his department.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to take a minute to formally introduce our newest employee to the City Council so you can put a name to a face. Michelle Lilly joined the City and the Community Development Department last Monday. She came back this week, so it's hopeful. She'll be here for hopefully longer than a few weeks. Michelle comes to the City of Warrenville after a long career at the City of Effingham, where she functioned as an engineering technician for the better part of a decade and a half. And for the last 6 years, she's been their building official. She has a bachelor's degree from SIU and also is a certified building official. So we're glad to have her aboard. We can definitely use the help, and she's already dug in, you might say.
Thank you, Ron. Welcome, Michelle. Glad to have you aboard. And one final thing for me about the police chief recruitment process. Pending the approval of the GovHR proposal on tonight's agenda, the aldermen were sent a survey from GovHR to gather your input as we begin the recruitment process for the next chief of police. The surveys are due back by Saturday, July 23rd. Please keep that in mind. Contact the city administrator if you did not receive a survey, or contact the GovHR consultants if you have questions about the survey. But please do participate. It's very important. Okay, that's all I have. Clerk? Thank you, Julie. Treasurer? No. Alderman? Alderman Goodman.
I feel it's important to talk about this issue, even though this is not directly related to any of the city business we're dealing with at the present time. There was an incident this weekend in the northwest suburbs where a whole bunch of anti-Semitic literature was distributed in Long Grove and Schaumburg and Palatine Township. And this anti-Semitic literature was distributed in driveways and at people's homes at night. Very scary stuff, making some very hateful comments and accusations. So when something like this happens in our community, I think it's important as leaders for us to speak up about it and to say that it's wrong and to say that there's no place for that here. I think it's easy for people to say, well, that wouldn't happen here, you know, not in Warrenville. But I'm going to tell you a little story. I've lived in Warrenville all my life, and I'm a Jewish person, person of Jewish descent, as the hateful literature apparently described it. When I was in 6th grade, some kids on the bus started screaming "dirty Jew" at me. Got a chant started on the bus one day. And that night, my house was egged. In recent years, I've sort of had to come to terms with that happening to me. You know, it's about 30 years ago. It's a long time. And the way that we define a hate crime, I've thought about that. I thought about that in law school when I was learning about criminal law. And it's not an easy thing to sort of get your head around that when I was in 6th grade, I was the victim of a hate crime. But I think it's true. So yeah, that can happen here in Warrenville, because it did. It happened to me. And I had a lot of support. My parents contacted the school, and they went straight to the Warrenville Police Department, which had an officer that called the students involved in and dealt with the situation appropriately. And so I think as leaders today, it's important for us to say that this is happening a lot lately, and it's happening here and nearby. And when it happens, you need to speak up, and you need to take it to the police and rely on them for support, because they do know how to respond appropriately, and they know what to do, and they can protect us from that. But even in smaller ways, in everyday interactions, it's important to speak up when you hear something like that. So thanks for listening. I just wanted to talk about this because, I saw this in the newspaper today, and I was just in Schaumburg this weekend. I used to work in Schaumburg. It felt very close by. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'm sure we all agree up here. It could happen here, and it's incumbent on us to try our best to make sure that it doesn't happen and it's dealt with properly if it does. So thank you so much. Alderman Kershaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a reminder to citizens that in the city code, there is a section related to dogs and leash. I'm aware of a couple incidents so far this summer since even July 1st, and it seems to be happening with more regularity where, dogs are off leash. Residents should feel safe walking the neighborhoods or walking their own pets. So just as a reminder, Chief Toronto, I don't know if you have any comments on that. I think there's pretty significant fines, upwards of hundreds of dollars. So do you have any comments there?
Yeah, the minimum fine for having a dog off leash on public property is $100. It can go up to $750. And that would be determined at an adjudication hearing. I would urge residents that if you do see a dog off leash, you can call and you can report it anonymously, and the police will respond, will take the appropriate action. For dog owners, it's a matter of, and all of us that have dogs, we love them like family. If you really care about your dog, though, put the dog on a leash when you're out in public, because it is an animal and you never really know how that dog will react if he's around other people. And God forbid the dog should become involved in something where they injure another dog or a person. That dog could be impounded, not only for a rabies observation, but if it went to a court case, it may come down to having to have the dog euthanized if the injuries are serious enough. And you would also be potentially liable for any type of civil damages. So love and protect your dog, put it on a leash when you're out in public, respect other citizens here. Not everybody loves dogs. Some people are very afraid of them. So again, respect other people, take care of your dog, be a responsible dog owner. You're in public, put the dog on a leash. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Alderman. And Susan, I see you here tonight. How's your little girl doing? Is she doing okay? Susan's dog was the victim of an unprovoked attack recently, so I'm glad she's doing better. Okay, anyone else? Alderman Widener.
Yeah, just to go along with that, I would offer that people who do insist on having their dogs run at large, there are many facilities in the county and elsewhere where they can pay a fee and let their dogs run at large in an off-leash dog area where it would be more appropriate to do that if you insist on that. But even those areas, you have to have a dog that responds to your voice commands. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Davalos.
Yeah, I just want to follow up Alderman Krishall's comments. All of you, I know, received the Hometown Happenings. I'm not sure you read it or not, but on the front of that was an article about the very thing that we're talking about. So number one, I'd like to thank the police officers and the animal control folks for following up with citizens. I know there have been, citizens have come forward to the police, to the alderman, which is the perfect thing to do. So I'd like to thank the police for the interactions with residents. I think the feedback I got was that the sooner you can call them or the animal control, if there's an incident, they need to know about it soon so they can be part of seeing it and dealing with whatever dog owner is not obeying the statute. So that's my one thing. My second thing is because of feedback from citizens, that's the reason that article was on the front page of the Hometown Happenings. So people can cut it out, they can refer it. I think there's a lot of people in Warrenville, probably most communities, that don't think there are regulations with their dogs, and there are, for the safety of everybody. So I guess I'm also thanking citizens, and I'm thanking the city, especially Administrator White, for following up, and she was the genesis of getting that article on there, just to get people the facts. And so I think that's good. So it's another example of citizens coming forward and things happen. So I would have a lot of people to thank, but I think this is good, and I appreciate what the chief has talked about tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman. Anyone else? Very good. City Administrator, welcome, John.
Thank you. Two quick notes. One is just an error I made. I know that sounds rare. In the summary on page 2 of 5, it's a very minor thing, but under item C, I noted that the chief will retire effective January 3rd. He has to stay around 3 more days. He's retiring on the 6th, not the 3rd. His administrative assistant caught that, and I said, that can't be. I know what day he's retiring, but I wrote it that way. So if you just change that to the 6th, we're all good. Second is just to let everybody know that Gov HR representatives, Joe DeLopez and Lee McCann, are both attending virtually. They tried to attend last week, but somehow we got the GoToMeeting link and the information we sent them backwards. It was our fault on staff, not theirs. They were sitting in a meeting that no one was at for about 45 minutes. So they are here tonight if there are questions. If not, they will be happy to watch and let you approve it. If there are any questions, I will certainly be able to answer them. Thank you.
So that's 2 mistakes in 1 week?
Happens to the best of us.
Okay. City Attorney. Brooke? Nothing? Okay, very good. We'll move on then to the approval of the agenda for this evening. Alderman Widener, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the agenda for the July 18th, 2022 City Council regular meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second on the agenda. Any changes to the agenda from anyone? Alderman Goodman.
Yeah, I'd like to remove item 6E.
I'm sorry, 6E. Okay,
A motioner agrees to that.
and the seconder agreed to the change?
Yes.
Okay, very, we have one change to the agenda been agreed to by the motioner and the seconder. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to the amended agenda for this evening. We have a couple of sets of minutes that need to be approved also. Alderman Wider?
Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes of the July 5th, 2022 City Council regular meeting and to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2022 Community Development Committee meeting.
Second.
Second by Alderman Lockett. Any questions and/or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved as presented. The consent agenda for this evening reads item 6A, accept zoning board of appeals recommendation, waive second reading, and pass ordinance 02022-23, approving a variation from table 5E of the zoning ordinance to reduce the required off-street parking at 3 South 230 Warren Avenue. B, accept staff recommendation, waive second reading, and pass ordinance 02022-24, amending the city code Title 3, Chapter 2, to increase the number of Class A2 liquor licenses from 7 to 8. C, accept Community Development Committee recommendation and pass resolution R2022-40, approving an agreement with GovHR USA to provide executive search services for the recruitment and selection of the next police chief for an amount not to exceed $35,000. D, accept staff recommendation and pass resolution R2022-41, approving $500,000 of motor fuel tax funding for the 2022 road program. F, accept staff recommendation and pass resolution R2022-43, approving a contract with Engineering Resource Associates Incorporated for construction engineering services for the 2022 road program in the amount of $94,184.20 plus reimbursable expenses. G, accept Community Development Committee recommendation to retain the all-way stop condition at the Warrenville and Batavia Roads intersection is a permanent improvement. H, accept Community Development Committee recommendation and designate Alderman Lockett and Kruckenberg to work with the Community Development Department staff to advance the form-based zoning overlay district initiative. I, receive and file minutes of the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting held on June 23rd, 2022. J, receive and file minutes of the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals meeting held on July 7th, 2022. K, receive and file minutes of the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting held on May 10th, 2022. L, receive and file minutes of the Bicyclist and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting held on June 14th, 2022. M, receive and file report of invoices paid up to July 13th, 2022 in the amount of $38,651. And authorize expenditures for invoices due on or before August 2nd, 2022 in the amount of $223,166.96. And O, receive and file report of master debit card expenditures for the month of June 2022 in the amount of $22,437.45. Alderman Widener?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented by Mayor David Brummel.
Second.
Second by Alderman Goodman. Have a roll call, please.
Alderman Lockett,
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Widener,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Kruckenberg,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
and Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Thank you, Julie. The consent agenda as amended has been approved. We will now return to item 6E. Alderman Goodman, did you wish to bring that forward, or would you prefer someone else?
No, I'm happy to bring it forward. I will make a motion to accept staff recommendation and pass resolution R 2022-42, awarding the contract for the 2022 road program to Geneva Construction Company of Aurora, Illinois, in the amount of $1,011,747.92.
Second.
Second by Alderman Chrisell. Discussion. Alderman Goodman?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about, I suppose normally I would ask the Public Works Director, but perhaps Analyst Youngmeyer will know. It says here that the engineer's estimate was $1.31 million, and that our budgeted amount for this project was $952,686. I mean, that's a huge difference. That's $360,000. I guess my question has to do with the timing of when those estimates are made. It's very nice to see that the low bid was 23% below the engineer's estimate. That doesn't usually happen, especially in times of inflation and difficulty. It could just as easily have been a lot more than the engineer's estimate. But when our budgeted amount is so far off, I guess I just wanted to ask the question about that.
Who would like to address that? Is anyone here? I know Phil is not here tonight.
I don't know if Kristen wants to, I don't know if you have any information. about
Crispin
John?
Youngmeyer, do you have something?
I can't explain the difference at this time. That's something I could check in with Phil once he's back.
Brooke, do you have something to add?
I mean, I don't know the exact reason, but just being aware of the concrete and asphalt industry generally with a lot of our other clients, I would assume that the budgeted amount was determined quite a while ago, and that more recently there's been a number of recent events that have made the price of asphalt and concrete go up quite high. So I'd assume it's just the difference in price would be because the budgeted amount was made before those events took place.
Right. I mean, the actual amount is actually not very different it's only about $60,000.
Right.
But if the engineer's estimate 6 months later, I mean, that's my question.
Right.
City Administrator Coakley, John?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Brooke has covered it pretty well. The budget estimates are put together mostly last fall. The engineer would have done the design work and then revised the estimate and gotten a lot closer in all the inflation factors and all the building materials. A lot of my petroleum in them as well. All those things have gone up and would certainly be a factor. We can get more information, follow up from Phil when he is back, or potentially from Christine Hockey. I'm not sure which one oversaw that, but unfortunately they're not here tonight. I thought maybe he had given some insight to Kristen. Sorry to put you on the spot there. But generally that is the main answer. We can get it more details if you wish.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'd appreciate just knowing, because we seem to have, I suppose in some ways, gotten very lucky that we had a low bid that was pretty close to our budget, and we're not that far off. So I'm happy with that, and I'm happy to approve the contract to the low bidder. I just am concerned because I think this has happened a couple of times lately, and we need to do better maybe with our estimates or build in a bigger margin, and that would allow us to plan better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Weidner?
As long as we're on this topic, I just wonder if the contractor guarantees that any kind of coal tar products are not used, because I know the EAC is recommending the reduction of that, and I just wonder if we've selected a vendor. And I'm not even sure, I'm not familiar with the asphalt trade, whether they do or they don't use coal tar products, but I just wondered if we could, as long as we're postponing this for a vote, if we could find that out, I'd be interested to know. Or are we postponing?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
there's been
Oh,
a
okay.
motion to postpone it. We certainly can get that information, though, I'm sure.
Yes, I don't know that we can postpone this. There's some deadlines we need to keep moving on, but we can answer those questions and get the information back to both of you if that's okay with the council.
Okay. Anybody else with questions? Okay, let's do a roll call then.
Alderman Weidner,
Aye.
Alderman Ashour,
Aye.
Alderman Lockett,
Aye.
Alderman Berry,
Aye.
Alderman Davalos,
Aye.
Alderman Chrisell,
Aye.
Alderman Goodman,
Aye.
and Alderman Krokenberg.
Aye.
Thank you, Julie. Motion carries. Okay, nothing under regular agenda, nothing listed for unfinished business that needs to be dealt with tonight at least. No new business, no closed session. Are you sure, John? Okay, all right. One final vote is needed. Who would like to precipitate that vote with a motion? Alderman Lockett.
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Second by Alderman Ruckenberg. All right. Johnny on the spot. Good work, man. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't hear anybody, I guess. I guess the motion carries, and thank you so much for your attention. We'll see you next week.